Probate is no fun, and here's how to avoid it. Hi everybody, my name is Derek Christensen. I'm an estate planning and probate attorney in Dallas, Texas, and I wanted to talk to you today about the exciting topic of probate. But before I do that, I wanted to dive in and let you know how to reach out to me. You can find me at my email, Derek, D-E-R-E-K, at legionlawpllc.com, or you can email me, or you can find me on my website, www.legionlawpllc.com. So with that, let's dive right into the exciting world of probate. Probate is not something that most people think about, and in fact, you're probably wondering, what even is probate? And that is totally fair. Probate is the legal process by which a judge is going to determine who is in charge of splitting up a deceased person's estate, and how do we split up the estate? Who gets what? Now, you would think that's very simple, and most of the time, you just have one hearing, the judge stamps a document, you're good to go, and you're off to the races. But unfortunately, if you've had any misconceptions about the government, I will break the news to you that they tend to be inefficient and they tend to take a long time in what they do, even if it's just a one hearing. So unfortunately, probate has become a process by which somebody passes away, we have to resolve the estate, but we have to hire attorneys, we have to go to hearings, we have to sign documents, get them notarized, we have to testify in court, we have to send notice to creditors sometimes. It really does become quite the headache. And there are specific laws that create a very structured building in which you have to go through that building to resolve someone's estate if they've passed away. So unfortunately, if your spouse passes away, you have a strong probability of going through probate. If both your parents have passed away, you can't access their stuff without probate. And the reason why it's so terrible and why I really dislike probate, I mean, I make my living off of it, but I know that everyone that I've ever worked with in probate, not one of them has ever said, this is great, I enjoyed this, I'm so glad I have to do this. And the reason why is because it costs quite a bit of money. On average, if you have a will and you're in the faster forms of probate, you can even incur still about $5,000 in legal fees. I mean, $5,000 is not insignificant, and I think you would want that $5,000 to go to your kids rather than to a lawyer like myself. However, if you don't have a will, or if you have no planning whatsoever, there is a possibility that you will go through the worst form of probate, which could cost $7,000 to $10,000 on average. You know, sometimes they can go way higher. I've seen them get really messy real quick. So the point is that it's very expensive. Additionally, it takes a long time. And this kind of adds to the expenses as well. Now, when I say it takes a long time, when probate begins, everything freezes. You cannot touch the assets. You can't access the bank account if your name isn't on the bank account. You can't sell the house if you're not on the deed. You can't do anything. You can't downsize your house if your husband just passed away. It is just not fun whatsoever. And during those, it's about 3 to 4 months on the fast track. It's about 5 to 6 months on the slower track. Either way, 3 to 6 months of bills accruing. Mortgage still needs to get paid. You still need to pay off the credit card. You still need to do all the things that you would do if that person were still alive, but you can't. Everything's frozen. And so you have to call your bank, you're gonna have to call your credit card company, you're gonna have to do everything you can to make sure everybody knows someone's passed away, we're still waiting, we have to go through this whole process. And those bills add up and cause heartache during that entire time. So again, very expensive just paying for attorneys, let alone the bills start adding up and everything's frozen in place. Lastly, probate is public. I can see everyone's documents. I can see when they got married, their address, last 3 numbers of their social security card. So much information is out there and it's all public information that everybody can look at. And that's not very good for most people. I don't like my information out there. I'm sure you don't either. So if you want to keep your information private, probate is not the way to approach that. So that is why probate is bad. Now let's see how we can avoid probate. And really, it boils down to a couple different legal maneuvers, but the most common one is called a revocable living trust. Now I'm not going to dive into the specifics too much right here, but I poorly make a kind of a crummy analogy, but it's easier to understand if you think of a trust like a company. When the CEO of a company passes away, you just find a new CEO, but the company still lives on. If Tim Cook of Apple passes away tomorrow, Apple still exists, right? So we just find a new CEO and the Apple still keeps going on, and so does your trust if you were to pass away as CEO of your trust. And if no one dies, if no entity has dissolved or died, just like a company, no company will ever die, Therefore, you don't have to go to probate because probate is only when people have died. So that's kind of the thought process behind a revocable living trust. The trust never disappears. It only keeps going on past your death. If no one has passed away, you don't have to go to probate. And you just find a new CEO who will replace you, and then they will follow the rules that you set. Split this up to my family here, give this to my child this way, etc., etc. And you can set all the rules that you want. So you avoid probate, you avoid the huge costs of attorneys, $5,000 to $7,000 or whatever. The day after you pass away, you access those assets and you're good to go. You can make the transfer immediately. You don't have to wait for 3 to 4 months of frozen assets. And all of your information is private. It's a win-win. I personally agree. So at the end of the day, there are other strategies. There are ladybird deeds, there are beneficiary designations, there are other types of trusts you could use, but the most common strategy to avoid probate is a revocable living trust. Now, if you have any more questions on that, feel free to send me an email. I'd be more than happy to help out. Again, probate is no fun. I do not encourage it for anybody. And really, you only want to go through probate if you want a judge to play referee over your family and your assets after you pass away. That's literally the only benefit I can ever see. And most people don't want that. So again, email me directly, Derek, D-E-R-E-K, at legionlawpllc.com, or find me on my website, www.legionlawpllc.com. You can find me on my Contact Us page, and you can schedule a consultation directly on my calendar. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.